Thank you for subscribing to our show.
Glad to be here for this one. It's a great topic.
Yeah, I'm really excited. So, to start this deep dive, I want you, the listener, to imagine something for a second. Imagine I'm standing right in front of you.
Okay, painting a picture here.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm holding this heavy metal briefcase. I pop the latches, open it up, and it is just packed to the brim. $3 million.
Oh.
Yeah. Cold, hard, tax-free cash. And I'm offering to hand this briefcase right to you, right this second, no strings attached.
Which is, the dream, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But before you grab the handle, I hold up my other hand, and pinched right between my fingers is a single shiny penny, 1 cent.
Ah, here we go, the catch.
There's always a catch. The catch with this penny is that it possesses a really unique mathematical property. It will double in value every single day for the next 31 days.
It's the classic, ultimate hypothetical scenario.
It really is. So here's the question for you listening right now. Which one do you choose? I mean, do you take the $3 million in cash today, or do you take the compounding penny?
From a purely behavioral economic standpoint, your brain is practically screaming at you to take the briefcase.
Oh, totally. Just give me the cash.
Right, because it's this overwhelming visceral urge. $3 million is tangible. It's immediate safety. It represents this instantaneous transformation of your life. Your stress levels drop. Your social standing skyrockets.
You can literally go buy a house an hour later.
Exactly. The penny, on the other hand, requires this profound leap of abstract faith. Our brains are biologically hardwired with what psychologists call a linear bias.
A linear bias. So we just think in straight lines.
We do. We are incredibly good at predicting linear progression. Like if you throw a rock, your brain instantly calculates the trajectory and knows where it's going to land. But we are notoriously terrible at intuitively understanding exponential growth.
We just can't visualize it. And the math of that exponential growth, especially in the beginning, it's just agonizingly slow.
Painfully slow.
Let's actually walk through it, because this is where the illusion really takes hold.
Mm-hmm.
So you take the penny. On day 2, you have 2 cents.
Thrilling.
Right. Day 3, 4 cents. By day 10, which is, keep in mind, nearly a third of the entire month gone, you are sitting there holding exactly $5.12.
Which is the precise moment when regret typically begins to metastasize.
Metastasize is the perfect word. Imagine the person next to you took the $3 million. They've been living out their wildest dreams for 10 days.
They bought the house. They quit their terrible job.
Yeah, they're posting photos from a beach in the Maldives.
Yeah.
And you have $5.
It's humiliating.
Fast forward to day 20. 2/3 of the month is over. You have just over $5,200. You must feel like the absolute biggest fool on the planet.
And that feeling, that suffocating sense of having made just a massive mistake, that is the exact psychological threshold where the vast majority of people abandon any long-term compounding endeavor.
They just throw in the towel.
They do. They look at the stark disparity between their invisible, painfully slow results and the highly visible, immediate results of others around them, and they quit.
Because it looks like they're losing.
Right. But if we look at the underlying mechanics of exponential math, the process hasn't failed at all. It's just quietly building the base of the curve.
The fuse is burning.
Exactly.
Right.
If you have the psychological fortitude to just hold on, the explosion finally happens. On day 29, that compounding penny reaches $3,400,000.
Boom. It finally catches up to the briefcase.
It finally catches up.
But it doesn't stop there.
No, because you still have 2 days left in the month. On day 30, it doubles to nearly $6.8 million. And on day 31, your single, agonizingly slow penny has grown to over $10.7 million.
$10.7 million.
Right. You end up with more than 3 times the wealth of the person who took the immediate cash.
That is just, it's staggering when you actually map it out.
It really is. And this isn't just some clever math trick. This is the central thesis of Darren Hardy's book, The Compound Effect, which we are really pulling apart today in this deep dive.
The ultimate operating system for life.
Exactly. The underlying architecture of massive, unshakable success is almost rarely immediate. It is built on the invisible compounding math of daily life.
$10.7 million from a single cent. But, this raises a massive problem in my mind.
What's that?
Well, if the math of the compounding penny is so undeniably clear, like if it's an objective mathematical fact that patience and compounding lead to a vastly superior outcome, why do we almost universally crave the $3 million up front?
Why is waiting so hard?
Yeah. Why is it so difficult to just wait?
To understand that, we have to look really deeply at our evolutionary biology and how it violently clashes with modern culture. For hundreds of thousands of years, our ancestors lived in environments of extreme scarcity. If an early human stumbled across a bush loaded with calorie-dense berries, their brain didn't say, let's save these and invest them for a 10% yield over 5 years.
All right. They weren't thinking about their 401k.
Not at all. Their brain flooded their system with dopamine, which is the neurotransmitter that drives motivation and reward, and it commanded them to consume those calories immediately. Survival literally depended on instant gratification.
Eat it now or starve later.
Exactly. Fast forward to today, and we still have that exact same scarcity-adapted brain. But we live in an environment of absolute, overwhelming abundance.
So we are essentially like prehistoric survival machines trying to navigate a world of smartphones and 24-hour drive thrust.
Precisely. And this mismatch has birthed what the author accurately terms the microwave mentality.
The microwave mentality. I love that phrase.
We have culturally conditioned ourselves to expect immediate outcomes. I mean, think about the historical shift in just the last few decades. The text uses the example of photo processing.
Oh, right.
30 years ago, dropping off film and waiting an entire week to see your pictures was just the standard.
You had no idea if your eyes were closed or not.
Exactly. Then 1-hour photo labs came along, and it felt like absolute magic.
Right.
Today, if a high-definition photo takes more than a second to render on our screens, we get completely frustrated and assume our Wi-Fi is broken.
We're refreshing the app constantly.
We've completely lost the tolerance for latency. We expect our food, our entertainment, our communication to just be instantaneous.
And the real danger here, I think, is how this biological vulnerability is actively weaponized against us,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to our life goals.
Oh, absolutely. The marketing industry understands our dopamine pathways perfectly.
They really do. We are relentlessly bombarded by messaging that just feeds this microwave mentality. You know the ads. Lose 15 kilograms in 7 days with this revolutionary supplement.
Or my personal favorite, discover the secret to making $200,000 a month by working from your laptop on a beach.
Yes, they are selling the $3 million briefcase day after day.
Because the briefcase sells. The reality of the penny just doesn't. And this barrage of false promises has fundamentally warped our baseline expectations of what achievement actually requires.
We've bought into a delusion.
We have. We've been sold a collective delusion that success should be as fast, predictable, and effortless as, pressing a button on a microwave. We expect to put in minimal effort, hear the metaphorical ding, and pull out a fully realized dream.
Okay, wait, hold on. Let me look at this from another angle for a second. Sure. Isn't it logical, in a way, to want the sure thing? When people look at success, say a billionaire tech founder or an Olympian standing on the podium, they see the end game. They see the highlight reel.
Right.
It makes sense that we want to replicate that final moment, right? It's human nature. It's like we treat life like a lottery ticket.
Yeah.
We only see the winners jumping up and down, but we ignore the millions of losers or the times that same winner failed before. We just want the victory lap.
I mean, emotionally, yeah, it completely makes sense. But analytically, it's a massive cognitive distortion. It is the literal highlight reel effect.
Because we don't see the dark times.
Media and culture do not televise the decade of grueling, anonymous practice. They don't make blockbuster films about the individual who diligently invested a small portion of their paycheck into index funds every month for 40 years.
That would be the most boring movie ever made.
Exactly. They make movies about the guy who counted cards in Vegas and won millions in a single weekend. Our mental model of how success actually occurs is fundamentally broken because the data we are fed is deeply skewed.
We only see the explosion. We never see the fuse burning.
That's a great way to put it. So the absolute first step for anyone who wants to actually harness the compound effect is a really difficult one.
What is it?
You have to mourn the loss of the magic pill.
Mourn it. Wow.
You have to intellectually and emotionally accept that if a promise sounds too good to be true, if it offers massive reward with zero risk and zero time, it is a trap.
It's just a trap designed to separate you from your money or your attention.
Yes. You have to completely recalibrate your dopamine system to find satisfaction in the unsexy, slow, tedious grind.
Which is, man, that's a heavy realization. Because once you strip away the illusion of the overnight success, once you realize nobody is coming to hand you a briefcase full of cash, what are you actually left with?
You're left with yourself.
Yeah, you are left with your mundane daily choices, the incredibly small, seemingly insignificant decisions you make from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep.
The micro decisions.
Right. But that brings us to an even more complex hurdle, I think. How on earth can we control these tiny choices if we don't even realize we're making them?
Ah. This is where we run into the concept of the default mode network in the brain, or what the text refers to as sleepwalking through life.
Sleepwalking.
Yeah, because human beings have so many decisions to make every day, our brains conserve energy by automating as much as possible. We run on subconscious autopilot.
Like driving home and not remembering the commute.
Exactly. You don't actively think about how to tie your shoes or brush your teeth. Your brain just executes the program. The problem arises when this autopilot takes over the choices that dictate our health, our finances, and our relationships.
Right, because we aren't actively, maliciously deciding to ruin our lives. Like, nobody wakes up and says, today, I'm going to sabotage my career and destroy my cardiovascular system.
Olin does that.
But we sleepwalk. We grab the sugary donut in a break room instead of the apple because it's just a reflex. We collapse on the couch and mindlessly scroll through algorithmic feeds for 2 hours instead of reading 10 pages of a book.
And those tiny negative choices are compounding just as surely as the positive ones.
It works both ways.
The math works in both directions. The compound effect is utterly agnostic. It doesn't care if it's multiplying wealth or multiplying debt. It just multiplies.
Okay, so how do we wake up?
To wake up from the sleepwalking state, you have to introduce a massive, jarring interrupter. And the most effective interrupter is the act of relentless, granular tracking.
Tracking every single action related to your goal.
Precisely. You cannot manage, adjust, or improve what you do not measure. This is a foundational law of systems engineering, but it applies perfectly to human behavior.
Makes sense.
If you want to lose weight, you cannot rely on vague estimates of your caloric intake. You have to track every single bite. If you want to eliminate debt, you cannot just vaguely hope there is money left in your checking account on the 30th of the month.
You just close your eyes and swipe the card.
Right, you can't do that. You must track every single penny that leaves your possession.
I have to be honest, though. Hearing that out loud, writing down every single penny, logging every single calorie, that sounds like an obsessive-compulsive nightmare.
It is intense.
It sounds exhausting.
Yeah.
Imagine carrying around a tiny judgmental auditor in your pocket every minute of the day. Who wants to live like that?
It is exhausting, and it is highly annoying at first, but the exhaustion and the annoyance are actually the mechanism of change.
How so?
Let's look at the psychology of friction. When you are sleepwalking, grabbing that donut has zero friction. It's easy. But if you have made a commitment to write down everything you eat in a physical notebook, suddenly there is a barrier.
Oh, I see.
You look at the donut and you realize, if I eat this, I have to pull out my notebook, write down the word donut, look up the caloric content, and log the sugar. That tiny amount of friction forces your prefrontal cortex, the logical decision-making part of your brain, to wake up and override the autopilot.
It literally forces you into a state of acute mindfulness.
Exactly. Professional athletes and high performers understand this intimately. The text mentions legends like Larry Bird or Olympic competitors. These individuals do not operate on vibes or guesswork.
No, they're obsessed with stats.
They track the most granular statistics imaginable. They track their macronutrients, the exact ratios of proteins, fats, and carbohydrates they consume. They track their heart rate variability.
What's heart rate variability?
Yeah, it's essentially a measure of the micro variations in time between heartbeats that indicates how well their nervous system is recovering from stress.
Wow.
They use this hard data to make micro adjustments. They eliminate the guesswork.
Okay, so apply this to your own life, you listening. Imagine keeping a small notebook, and not a digital app where you can easily swipe things away, but a physical notebook that requires the kinetic act of actually writing.
Yes, physical writing is key.
Imagine keeping it in your front pocket. And imagine, like, I am literally standing right over your shoulder, watching you.
A little big brother.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Every time you buy a coffee and fail to write it down, every time you take a bite of food and don't log it, I make you drop to the floor and do 100 push-ups.
That would certainly work.
Right. Now, I'm not actually there to punish you, but that is the level of hyper-awareness tracking creates. It completely destroys your plausible deniability.
Plausible deniability is the shield we use to protect our egos. We tell ourselves, oh, I eat relatively healthy most of the time, or I'm generally pretty frugal.
We lie to ourselves.
Constantly. But when you are forced to look at a physical ledger of your week, And you see the 3 spontaneous fast food trips, the daily $5 coffees, and the mindless late-night online purchases. The shield shatters.
Can't argue with it.
The data is staring you in the face in your own handwriting. The reality of your compounding choices is suddenly unavoidably visible.
But the key here is not to overwhelm yourself. I mean, if you try to track every aspect of your existence starting tomorrow morning, you will suffer from cognitive overload and quit by noon.
Oh, absolutely. It's too much.
The actionable step here is to pick just one domain. Start small. Pick one single habit you want to change. If you are struggling with money, commit to tracking every penny for just 1 week.
7 days.
7 days. That's it. It will act as a massive spotlight on the dark corners where you've been sleepwalking.
But as incredibly illuminating as tracking is, it inevitably collides with another deeply human limitation. Yes, the sheer crushing boredom. Because for the first few days, you have the novelty effect. You feel disciplined, in control, maybe a bit proud of your new system.
You bought a nice new notebook?
Exactly. But by day 8 or day 12, the dopamine hit of starting a new project completely vanishes. You've had a brutal day at work, your commute was a nightmare, and the absolute last thing your exhausted brain wants to do is pull out a notebook to write down the cost of a sandwich.
You just want to drop the notebook in the trash and go back to sleepwalking? Just give me the sandwich.
Right. And this is where we have to adjust the myth of willpower.
Okay, let's get into this.
We have been conditioned to believe that success is just a matter of gritting your teeth and pushing through the pain. Just exert more willpower.
Just do it.
But neuroscientists have studied this extensively, often referring to it as ego depletion. Willpower is not a character trait. It is a finite cognitive resource.
Like a battery.
Exactly like a battery. Every single decision you make during the day drains the battery. What to wear, what to say in a meeting, avoiding a bad driver on the road. By the time evening rolls around, your willpower is near zero.
It's depleted.
And a depleted brain will always choose the path of least resistance.
So relying on willpower to keep tracking or to keep making those tiny positive choices is just a guaranteed formula for failure.
It's mathematically certain.
When the willpower battery is dead, the siren song of immediate comfort, like giving up a challenging educational book to collapse on the couch and watch 3 hours of a procedural crime drama, or Dancing with the Stars, that's going to win 9 times out of 10.
Which means we need a power source that doesn't deplete.
Right.
We need something that overrides the drained battery. We need what the text calls why power.
Why power?
Your motivation must be anchored to your deepest core values. It cannot be superficial.
You know, I read this incredible analogy in the source material that perfectly crystallizes the difference between willpower and why power. It's the plank analogy.
Oh, this is a brilliant one.
So picture this. I take a standard narrow plank of wood, maybe 10 feet long, and I lay it flat on the ground. I look at you and say, I will give you $20 if you can just walk from one end of this plank to the other. You do it in a heartbeat, right? It's easy $20.
Yeah, there is zero risk and an immediate tangible reward.
Exactly. But now, let's alter the environment. I take that exact same plank of wood and I suspend it between the roofs of 2 high-rise buildings 100 stories up in the air.
Okay, getting scary.
The wind is howling. The street looks like a tiny ribbon down below. Now, I hold up that same $20 bill and offer it to you to walk across the plank. What do?
You refuse. I mean, no rational human being would risk certain death for $20.
Right. You'd look at me like I was insane. Your self-preservation instincts completely override the tiny reward.
Of course.
But let's change the scenario one final time. The plank is still 100 stories up. The wind is still howling. But this time, on the opposite roof, a massive fire has broken out.
Oh, wow.
The flames are roaring. The heat is intense. And trapped on the edge of that burning roof is your child or your spouse. The person you love more than anything in this world, and they are crying out for you. Now, do you walk across the plank?
Not a second of hesitation.
I am sprinting across that plank.
Yep.
But here's the profound part. What actually changed in the physics of that scenario?
Nothing. The physics remained identical. The wind speed didn't change. The sheer drop to the pavement didn't change. The objective physical risk of falling to your death was exactly the same.
Exactly the same.
The only variable that shifted was the why. The value of the reward shifted from an insignificant $20 to the survival of something you value more than your own life.
The why changed everything.
When the prefrontal cortex processes a why of that magnitude, it completely overrides the amygdala, which is the fear center of the brain. It instantly bypasses any calculation of risk or need for willpower. When the reason is big enough, human beings are capable of executing nearly impossible tasks.
This is a massive realization for anyone trying to leverage the compound effect. Because if your goal is, I want to lose 10 pounds so my old jeans fit better, that is a $20 reward for walking across a 100-story plank.
It's incredibly weak.
It is a weak why. When you are exhausted, when your willpower battery is at zero, and someone puts a piece of chocolate cake right in front of you, the $20 why isn't going to save you. You will eat the cake.
Every single time.
You need a burning, building why.
You need a reason that is visceral. I want to get my cardiovascular health under control so I don't die of a heart attack at 50 like my father did, and I can be there to walk my daughter down the aisle. That is a why. That will force you to pull out your notebook and track your calories when you are dead tired.
Absolutely. But let me ask you this. Does a why always have to be so pure and noble?
What do you mean?
Well, what if someone's motivation is, frankly, a bit petty? What if they want to get rich purely to make an ex-partner jealous or to prove an abusive teacher wrong? Is that still valid?
That is a fascinating area of human psychology. And the truth is, the fuel doesn't have to be noble to be explosive.
Really?
Dark fuel burns incredibly hot.
Dark fuel.
Human psychology is deeply complex, and sometimes our most potent driving forces are rooted in grievance, pain, or defiance. The text references the legendary rugby coach Pete Carroll.
Oh yeah, Pete Carroll.
Depending on the specific biography you read, his early career was marked by humiliating firings and very public rejections. He didn't just passively accept that pain and move on, he synthesized it.
He
used the sting of rejection and the deep humiliation as the ultimate fuel to build a relentless championship culture. He weaponized his failure.
He weaponized it. I love that. He used the dark fuel.
Yes, as long as the resulting actions are legal, ethical, and ultimately productive, utilizing past pain, frustration, or even spite as a catalyst is a highly effective way to ignite your why power. The brain doesn't necessarily judge the moral purity of the motivation, it just recognizes the intensity of the signal.
So the mandate for you, the listener, is to figure out what the fire on the opposite building is for you. What is the core, unshakable, deeply emotional reason that will force you to keep taking those tiny compounding steps when the entire world is offering you the easy way out?
Because once you establish the deeply rooted why, and you apply it to your daily tracking, you set the stage for a profound shift in the physics of your life.
Okay, here we go.
You are doing the grueling, unglamorous work day after day, and if your why is strong enough to keep you consistent, eventually you summon the most mysterious and powerful force in all of human achievement, what the author calls Big Mo.
Big Mo. Momentum. This is where the magic actually happens. But momentum is notoriously difficult to understand because it feels like an invisible force.
It is invisible, but it's very real.
It requires a massive, almost disproportionately cruel amount of energy just to get it started. Yet once you have it, you become virtually unstoppable.
To grasp the mechanics of momentum, we have to look at the laws of physics, specifically the difference between static friction and kinetic friction.
Okay, break that down for us.
It takes significantly more force to move an object at rest than it does to keep an object moving. The text uses several brilliant mechanical analogies. Consider a massive locomotive train.
Like a huge freight train.
Right. If that train is sitting completely still on the tracks, you can actually prevent it from moving forward by placing a single 1-inch block of wood under the front driving wheel.
Wait, really? A 1-inch block of wood?
A single block of wood. That tiny block provides enough counterforce to halt thousands of tons of potential energy.
That's crazy.
If you remove the block, fire the engine, and that same train begins to move, building momentum until it is traveling at 55 miles per hour. At that kinetic state, it possesses so much momentum that it can crash through a 5-foot-thick, steel-reinforced concrete wall and keep moving as if nothing was there.
Just smash right through it.
The mass of the train didn't change. The engine didn't get bigger. The only thing that changed was momentum.
I love that visual. It reminds me of the space shuttle analogy. Like, a space shuttle uses the vast majority of its fuel in the first few minutes just to break the Earth's gravity.
Yeah.
It's violent, it's exhausting,
Yeah.
but once it's in orbit, it just glides easily.
Exactly.
Or it's like pushing a playground merry-go-round. If you've ever tried to push a heavy metal merry-go-round loaded with kids from a dead stop, you know exactly what static friction feels like.
It's brutally heavy.
You are straining, your legs are driving into the dirt, your chest is burning, it barely moves an inch. Then 2 inches. It requires maximum physical exertion just to get a single rotation.
But you keep pushing.
You keep pushing, and eventually, the kinetic friction takes over. It starts to spin. As it spins faster, momentum engages. Soon, you can keep that massive weight spinning at top speed with just a light, occasional tap of one hand. It literally carries its own weight.
And that transition from agonizing effort to effortless gliding is the reward of the compound effect. But there is a profound danger here, which the text illustrates with what I consider the most important metaphor in the entire philosophy.
Oh, this is the one. If there is one visual you take away from this entire deep dive, let it be this next one, the hand pump. Because this is the exact spot where millions of dreams quietly die.
It really is. So imagine you are standing in a field over an old cast iron hand water pump.
Like an old farm pump.
Yes. The water table is deep, deep underground. To get the water, you have to grab the heavy iron handle and start pumping. You are throwing your entire body weight into it.
Pulling it up, pushing it down.
You pull it up, push it down. You are exerting massive effort, sweating, your muscles are screaming. You pump for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and you look at the spout, and absolutely nothing is coming out, not a single drop.
It's completely dry. And this represents the early days of any new compounding habit. You are tracking every penny, you are waking up an hour early to study, you are eating perfectly clean.
You're doing all the right things.
And you step on the scale or check your bank account, and the needle hasn't moved a millimeter. You see 0 tangible results for your massive expenditure of energy.
This is the exact moment where the vast majority of people throw their hands up in disgust and quit.
They just walk away.
They say, this system is a lie. I've been pumping and pumping, and I am still thirsty. They suffer from the linear bias we discussed earlier. They expect an immediate one-to-one return on their energy.
But what's actually happening underground?
If you understand the physics of the pump, you know what is actually happening. With every pump of the handle, you are creating a vacuum in the pipe. Deep underground, invisible to the naked eye, the water is slowly, steadily rising inch by inch.
You just can't see it yet.
Exactly. If you have the Y power to keep pumping through the pain, through the agonizing lack of visible results, eventually the water reaches the top of the pipe. And when it does, it doesn't just drip.
It explodes.
It gushes out in a massive, continuous stream. You have achieved momentum. The water is flowing effortlessly. And now, to keep it flowing, you just need a gentle, consistent nudge of the handle. Big Mo has arrived.
It feels amazing at that point. But here comes the tragedy. The absolute worst mistake you can possibly make. What happens if, once the water is flowing and you are enjoying the success, you decide to get arrogant?
Oh, this is fatal.
You think, wow, I've worked really hard, I deserve a break.
Hmm.
So, you let go of the handle, you stop pumping entirely, you take a week off from tracking or a month off from the gym. What happens to the water?
The vacuum breaks, and gravity immediately pulls all of that water straight back down the pipe, deep into the earth. You lose every ounce of the momentum you fought so violently to build.
And when you finally realize your mistake and come back to grab the handle,
Yeah.
you don't get to start from where you left off.
No, the water isn't waiting right below the spout.
You have to expend all of that agonizing, massive initial energy all over again just to draw the water back up.
This is why inconsistency is the ultimate momentum killer. You cannot expect Big Mo to wait patiently for you while you take a hiatus from your disciplines. When you stop pumping, momentum vanishes. And restarting is always, always harder than continuing.
It's brutal. So, this begs the ultimate question. How do we engineer a life where we never drop the handle? How do we protect Big Mo once we've acquired it?
Because we can't just rely on sheer conscious effort forever.
Right, that leads straight back to ego depletion.
We have to automate the pumping. And that leads us to the concept of establishing unshakable behavioral rhythm.
Behavioral rhythms. Talk to me about that.
If momentum is the water flowing from the pump, your rhythms are the automated engine that keeps the handle moving. The goal is to take these new, smart choices that you've been consciously tracking and lock them into predictable routines.
So making them automatic.
By doing so, you transition the behavior from the prefrontal cortex, which requires immense energy, to the basal ganglia, which is the part of the brain responsible for automated habits.
So it takes less energy.
Yes. When a behavior becomes a rhythm, it dramatically reduces the cognitive load. You no longer have to actively decide to do the right thing. It just becomes part of your baseline operating system.
The text offers a really brilliant architectural strategy for this, which is the idea of bookending your day.
Bookends are critical.
Because, let's face reality, you cannot control the middle of your day. The middle of the day is a chaotic war zone of incoming demands. You get to the office, a client has a crisis, your boss drops a massive deadline on your desk, your kid gets sick and needs to be picked up from school.
Just constant putting out fires.
The middle of the day belongs to the world. But you have absolute dictatorial control over how you wake up and how you go to sleep. Those are your bookends.
By heavily fortifying your bookends, you create an anchor of stability regardless of the daily chaos. A strict morning routine sets the neurological trajectory for the entire day.
Like what?
Well, if you wake up, immediately grab your phone, read stressful news, and scroll through social media. You are flooding your brain with cortisol and dopamine spikes before your feet even touch the floor. You have surrendered control immediately.
You're starting the day in reactive mode.
Exactly. Conversely, if your morning bookend consists of waking up, hydrating, exercising to release endorphins, and reading 10 pages of high-quality material, you have proactively secured a baseline of compounding growth. No matter how disastrous the afternoon is, that morning win is locked in.
And the evening bookend is just as critical, right? It's the shutdown sequence.
Yes, reviewing what you accomplished, writing down the 3 most important targets for tomorrow, and critically shutting down blue light and screens to ensure the high-quality sleep required for neuroplasticity and recovery. You are essentially resetting the pump for the next morning.
To manage and track these rhythms, the author introduces a profoundly simple tool, the weekly rhythm register.
I love the rhythm register.
It is essentially a visual checklist. You list your core, non-negotiable daily behaviors. Maybe it's drinking 3 liters of water, reading for 20 minutes, making 5 extra sales calls, or practicing a skill. And every single day, you physically check a box.
It sounds simplistic, doesn't it?
It does. But visually tracking a chain of consistency taps into a powerful psychological drive.
Right.
We inherently do not want to break the chain. Once you see 5 check marks in a row, you'll do almost anything to get the 6th.
But there is a massive trap here that listeners need to avoid. When people finally grasp the power of rhythms, they often get overly ambitious.
They try to do too much.
They let their why power trick them into a sprint. They create a rhythm register that dictates they will wake up at 4 a.m., work out for 2 hours, read a book a week, and start a side hustle.
Which is insane if you're just starting.
If you haven't been to a gym in 5 years, planning to go 2 hours a day is a guaranteed failure. A routine is only effective if it is sustainable on your absolute worst days.
Consistency beats intensity.
Always. The psychology of the marathon versus the sprint is crucial here. The compound effect relies on time. Intensity is brittle. Consistency is unbreakable. It is mathematically and physiologically far superior to commit to a 20-minute brisk walk every single day for the next 30 years than it is to endure a brutal 2-hour CrossFit session every day for 3 weeks. Burn out, injure yourself, and quit completely.
You must design a rhythm that is challenging but deeply sustainable.
That's the secret.
Okay, so let's visualize where we are. You've abandoned the microwave mentality. You're tracking your habits to prevent sleepwalking. You found a burning seam. You've pumped the handle until Big Mo arrived, and you've locked everything into sustainable bookends and rhythms.
You're doing great at this point.
You are a self-contained compounding machine. You should be invincible, right?
They'd think so.
But you're not, because you don't exist in a vacuum. You are a porous organism navigating a highly complex world. And you are constantly under siege by external forces that want to leech your momentum. You have to aggressively guard the gates.
The fortress analogy is very apt. The text categorizes these external forces into 3 distinct domains that require active, relentless management: input, associations, and environment. Let's start with input. This refers to the data you are feeding your neural networks.
The visual of the mind as an empty glass is so powerful here.
Yes, explain that.
Your brain is a highly absorbent vessel. If you pour dirty water into a glass, you have a glass of dirty water. And by dirty water, I mean sensationalized 24-hour news cycles designed to trigger your amygdala, toxic celebrity gossip, endless political outrage on social media, or true crime podcasts that leave you paranoid and anxious.
All of that is dirty water.
If you continuously pour that into your mind, your subconscious baseline becomes anxious, fearful, and pessimistic. You cannot expect to output brilliant, creative, compounding work if your input is deeply polluted.
It is a fundamental law of neuroplasticity. Neurons that fire together wire together. If you constantly wire your brain for outrage and distraction, that becomes your default state.
So what do we do?
You must actively flush out the dirty water with clean, nutrient-dense water. You have to stand guard at the door of your own mind. This means curating your information diet as strictly as you curate your physical diet.
Turn off the news.
Turn off the news. The author suggests leveraging dead time, like turning your car into a drive time university.
Oh, I like that.
The average person spends hundreds of hours a year commuting. If you spend that time listening to angry talk radio, you compound negativity. If you spend it listening to educational audio, language courses, or deep dives into complex subjects, you compound intellectual capital.
It's a tiny shift in input that results in a massive divergence over a decade.
It really is.
That brings us to the second, and arguably the most dangerous, external influence. Associations. The people you spend your time with.
This is a tough one for a lot of people.
The text cites the famous research by Harvard psychologist Dr. David McClelland, who concluded that your reference group, which is the people you habitually associate with, determines up to 95% of your success or failure in life. Let me say that again. 95%.
It's staggering. The concept is often summarized as, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And this isn't just motivational rhetoric. It is rooted in the neuroscience of mirror neurons and social conformity bias.
So we physically mirror our friends.
We do. Humans are profoundly social creatures. We unconsciously mimic the behaviors, the vocabulary, the dietary habits, and the financial standards of our peer group to ensure social inclusion.
Just to fit in.
Yes. If your primary peer group believes that ordering takeout and binge-watching television every night is the standard baseline, your brain will unconsciously adopt that baseline to fit in.
Okay, wait, hold on. I have to push back here because whenever this rule is brought up, it sounds incredibly harsh.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
You're saying I should just ruthlessly cut my childhood friends out of my life because they don't want to track their calories or read business books. That sounds incredibly isolating, almost sociopathic. Do I just abandon people if they aren't useful to my goals?
That is a very common and understandable reaction, but it misses the nuance of the strategy. It is not about being a ruthless sociopath. It is about intentional boundary setting and the concept of baseline shifting.
Okay, clarify that for me.
You don't have to dramatically excommunicate your childhood friends. However, you must be ruthlessly honest about how they affect your momentum. If you have a friend whose primary mode of interaction is complaining, gossiping, and criticizing your ambitions, that person is actively draining your energy.
They're an anchor.
You don't have to cut them off, but you might need to limit your exposure. Maybe they become a 3-hour-a-month friend instead of a 3-day-a-week friend.
Oh, I see. You compartmentalize the relationship.
Exactly. But more importantly, the strategy isn't just about subtraction. It is primarily about addition.
Adding new people.
You have to proactively expand your associations. If you want to elevate your baseline, you must intentionally place yourself in environments where high performers gather. Join professional masterminds, attend challenging seminars, volunteer for leadership roles.
Surround yourself with people who make you stretch.
When you surround yourself with people whose baseline expectations are higher than yours, people who naturally read a book a week or who casually discuss their investment portfolios, your mirror neurons will force you to elevate your own standards to match the new group. You dilute the negative associations by flooding your ecosystem with positive ones.
That makes a lot of sense.
The author also heavily advocates for finding a success buddy, a specific, trusted individual who shares your compounding philosophy. You hold each other mutually accountable, reviewing your rhythm registers weekly, providing objective feedback that your regular friends might shy away from.
That clarifies it perfectly. It's about ecosystem management. So we have input, we have associations. The third gate to guard is your physical environment. This is the space you occupy every day.
Your physical space matters so much more than you think.
The text introduces the concept that physical clutter, disorganized spaces, and incomplete tasks act as literal Energy vampires.
Energy vampires. It connects to what psychologists call the Zeigarnik effect.
The Zeigarnik effect.
Yes, it's the tendency of the brain to remember uncompleted or interrupted tasks better than completed ones.
Interesting.
When you walk past a broken drawer in your kitchen every single day for 6 months, your conscious mind might ignore it, but your subconscious mind registers it as an unresolved problem. It takes a tiny microfraction of your cognitive bandwidth to suppress it.
So it's slowly draining you.
Multiply that by a messy desk, a disorganized inbox, a car filled with trash, and you have massive cognitive leakage. These environmental vampires slowly bleed your momentum dry.
So cleaning your room actually matters.
Aggressively clearing your physical space, fixing the broken things, organizing the clutter, immediately reclaims that lost mental energy. A clear physical environment facilitates a clear, compounding mental state.
Okay, so you have constructed an impenetrable system. Your input is pure, your associations are elevating you, your environment is clear, and Big Mo is pushing you effortlessly forward. This is the pinnacle, right?
Almost.
Well, there was one final gear to shift into. The final secret to taking everything we've discussed and putting it on absolute exponential steroids. This is the multiplier effect.
The multiplier effect is where you actively bend the curve of the math to accelerate your results. Once you have established a consistent baseline of effort, the secret to true exponential growth is the habit of doing just a fraction more than what is expected or required.
Just a little bit more.
The author uses a phenomenal analogy from the world of weightlifting and muscle hypertrophy to explain the underlying biology of this concept.
Yes. Imagine you are at the gym following a specific program. The program calls for you to do 3 sets of 12 repetitions of a heavy bicep curl. So you execute the 12 reps. That is excellent discipline.
You did what was asked.
But what actually happens biologically when you stop at 12? Doing those 12 reps merely fulfills the baseline expectation of the muscle. It maintains your current state. The real magic, the actual micro-tearing of the muscle fibers that forces the body to build new tissue, the true compounding growth, only occurs if you push through the pain to do a 13th or 14th rep.
Those extra reps, the ones you execute after your brain has screamed at you to stop, the ones that exceed the original expectation, that slight margin of extra effort is the only place where true expansion happens.
The growth is in the margins.
The baseline effort yields the baseline reward. The compounding magic lives entirely in the margins. And what is so profound is that this exact mechanism applies universally to every single endeavor.
It applies to everything. Let's say you are a real estate agent, and your daily rhythm register mandates that you make 20 prospecting calls. You hit 20 calls. You did your job.
Check the box.
But if you pick up the phone and make just one more call, the 21st call, that 21st call is the multiplier, because your competitors all stopped at 20. If you plan to run 3 miles, and you reach the 3-mile mark, run an extra 200 yards. If you plan to read 10 pages of a book, turn the page and read the 11th.
It seems like such an insignificant addition in the moment. I mean, what difference does one extra call or one extra page make? But over a year, that is 365 extra calls. Over a decade, it is 3,650 extra calls.
It adds up fast.
That tiny 1% margin of extra effort compounds exponentially, creating a massive insurmountable chasm between the top 1% of performers and the rest of the pack. It shifts your internal paradigm from asking, what is the minimum requirement to succeed, to asking, how can I slightly exceed the boundary of expectation right now?
It's an identity shift.
When that slight over-delivery becomes a habit, you aren't just adding to your success, you are multiplying it geometrically.
It is the ultimate accelerant.
Wow.
This has been an incredibly dense journey through the architecture of achievement.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We really have. We started by dismantling the illusion of the microwave mentality and accepting the slow mathematical reality of the compounding penny. We exposed the danger of sleepwalking and the friction of tracking our invisible choices.
The importance of that why power.
Yes, realizing that willpower is a depleting battery, and we must find a burning building why power to survive the boredom. We explored the physics of static and kinetic friction, understanding why we must never ever let go of the pump handle once Big Mo arrives.
Keep pumping.
We locked those behaviors into automated rhythms, and we built a fortress around our minds to guard our input, our associations, and our environment. And finally, we learned to multiply it all by just doing one extra rep.
It is a complete, scientifically grounded operating system for human potential. But as we bring this deep dive to a close, there is one final, almost paradoxical realization that the author leaves us with.
What's that?
Throughout this entire exploration, the focus has been intensely internal. It has been about your habits, your tracking, your psychology, and your ultimate success. But the highest echelon of the compound effect is actually entirely outward facing.
Yes, this completely flipped the script for me.
The author suggests that the absolute, most guaranteed, most efficient way to acquire what you deeply want in life is to dedicate a portion of your energy to helping someone else acquire it.
Helping someone else.
It is the ultimate psychological multiplier. If you are struggling with self-confidence, the fastest mechanism to generate it is to actively find ways to build confidence in someone else. If you desire financial or professional success, find someone you can mentor or assist in their own journey.
You give it away to get it.
By shifting your focus outward, you engage the laws of reciprocity and compound the positive energy in your own ecosystem.
It creates an outward ripple that inevitably bounces back to you multiplied. So the final thought, the final challenge we want to leave you with as you go about the rest of your day is this. Who in your life can you share this exact mindset with today?
Think about it.
Who in your circle needs a success buddy? Who can you help to start pumping that handle? Think deeply about that. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Start making those small, slightly uncomfortable, smart choices right now today. Because remember, whether you choose the immediate gratification of the $3 million or the tedious patience of the compounding penny, time is going to pass anyway. You might as well let the math work in your favor.